it seemed to happen almost in an instant. Like that. The homeless, the dirty streets, the drugs, they were all gone from the streets of San Francisco. This is the city welcome world leaders earlier in the week, including the leader of China. That has the Democratic governor, Gavin Newsom, who used to be the mayor of San Francisco, facing backlash. The Chronicle readers write this, questioning why leaders can't keep their city this way all the time. The host of the Ingraham Angle, Laura Ingram's with me now. I'll tell you why, Laura, because this is a choice. They made a choice when it came to the status of San Francisco. You've been there, you've seen it for yourself. I mean, much of a surprise that Xi would see a cleaner San Francisco this week?
No, we joked on the Angle, Bill, that this was kind of like how you clean up your cubicle when the boss comes around, right? So you clean up, like if the boss is in town, you gotta dress nicely, you gotta clean up the office, you gotta make sure there's not junk all over the floor, and that's kind of the message that we got here. Look, everybody knows, and the Angle's done great reporting from San Francisco over the last 5 years. We try to go back once a year and do an assessment of whether things have improved or not improved. And when we were last there over the summer, it was clear that things have gotten markedly worse, not better. On crime, homelessness, of course, just the general filth of the city, which is a city that so many of us love and have spent so much time in over the years, should be a crown jewel of the United States, and instead, for many, it's just become an unlivable place. So the fact that they could clean it up after saying it's too complex, you know, we got to get the court's telling us we need a bed for every homeless person, or we can't, take the tents down. Turns out none of that was really true. They were able to clean it up pretty well.
It's a choice, right? It's political will. If you want to do it, you can do it. I mean, we see the evidence. Happened overnight. Now, here in New York City,
right.
The mayor's got a migrant problem. We've got tens of thousands coming into New York. It's been happening for a while. He now issued his budget yesterday, Mayor Adams, and he's going to slash across the board, which means the police department will bring the number of cops to 30,000 or below. New York's got one of the biggest police forces in the country, well over 30,000. That's going to drop. That's going to have an effect on things. There'll be deep cuts to education as well. And you ask yourself, why would Biden not bail him out? And the reason is he can't control the purse strings because Republicans have the House majority. So what I would predict is that the situation in big cities in America like New York, they're just going to get worse. And you're going to go into an election year where these stories are going to be bigger and more prominent.
Well, I think you get what you vote for. So Adams, is really good at complaining about, well, this is bad and that's fine. And he said, this is really frustrating. We need help. But what these liberal, big urban area mayors need to do is they need to say what has to happen is this border has to be shut down. We cannot continue with essentially an open border with 8 million people that have come into the country that we know about and expect that it's all going to work out well. But now liberals in big cities have to live with the results of their policies. So they voted for it, and now they've gotten it. And it's going to happen across the board. There's going to be major budget cuts in every city because they can't do what Washington does, which is continually deficit spend. And so D.C., they just kind of, we'll borrow money, print money, and then we'll get through the next election. Well, that's not as easy to do on a city level. So Adams is doing what mayors are going to have to do. And that's going to affect regular working people, Bill, in a way that I think is going to be profound in the next election cycle. And Republicans should be running on common sense budgeting and fiscal matters that affect all of us, whether the grocery store or the gas pump. Yeah. And we got to be clear, Americans first. And if we don't focus on taking care of Americans first, this is what is going to happen.
So watch this issue.
It makes you cry.
Yeah,
makes you cry.
You talk about, the great American cities where you used to be able to raise a family and not worry about it. Here is the head of the union here in New York City for police union. Truly a disaster. Number 3, guys. Truly a disaster for every New Yorker who cares about safe streets. Cops are already stretched to our breaking point. These cuts will return us to staffing levels we haven't seen since the crime epidemic of the 80s and the 90s. And that's a political problem eventually, in addition to a lifestyle situation. Last point here, Patriot Awards last night. Just give us a 30-second rundown of people who were honored, who did things not for attention, but now they're getting that attention because of what happened last night in Nashville.
Right. I mean, we're still here in Nashville. They're breaking down the set. It was very moving to be part of the Patriot Awards last night because, again, regular people who could do anything with their time decide to do something in service to others, and especially to hold up our freedom and our desire for continued independence for our country and honoring those who don't have anyone to speak for them. And just a young man who is 17 who organizes all the flags and the patriotic displays for veterans across the country, the Moms for Liberty, which are trying to do everything in their power to return common sense to school boards. They were honored. Also, people like James Patterson, the author, who has done unbelievable work for the police, as you know. So we had an amazing time. Pete Hegseth did a great job.
Yes, he did.
We got Jesse and Hannity, and a lot of the five were there. Everybody's there. So we had a wonderful time. Bill, where were you though? Someone had to man the fort in New York. So
Smitty and I never get the call. And Martha and I were talking about it yesterday. Martha never gets the call. Brett never gets the call. So maybe maybe we need to break through that ceiling. Laura, have a great weekend.
Well, thanks, guys. Great to see you.
You bet. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.